Right. We're on screen, Michael. It's MannTalk. It's episode 2. It's Tuesday night. What have you got to tell us?
Jed Power, good to be here with you. And I think it is fair to say that autumn is definitely upon us. Some wonderful weather on Sunday. But I'll tell you what, I was up at Ramsey on Saturday playing hockey. They say that it's always sunny in Ramsey. Let me give you a hot tip. On Saturday, it was not. I'm still drying out my bones where it got awfully chilly. That beautiful autumn rain. And just now I was just riding my bike to and from the NSC, and the sun is setting earlier. It's beginning to get dark. Cuffing season is upon us.
I'm a little bit confused because it's only last week you were wearing a netball skirt. Then this week, you're in the press winning a quiz. I'm just going to pull the picture up there. All those lovely people, and you're towering above them. So what was all that about? Where was it?
So the Isle of Man Business Network, and if you're not a member of the Isle of Man Business Network, you should be. It's a good little organisation. Various, I don't know what the right word is here, but essentially people in various professional jobs, plus clowns like me, pop along. It's a bit of a business networking sort of thing, as I guess the name Isle of Man Business Network suggests. And there was a gin quiz. They had the wine cellar. This is all very confusing, I know, but the wine cellar was there hosting this quiz about gin at the Isle of Man Railway, at the Douglas Railway Station. It was a good night. Had a lot of gin, and I think the first time in my life, the first time I've ever been on a team that has won a quiz. And so we won gift vouchers to the wine cellar, very generously donated by Paragon, and then we have that photo, right, where it's me and the folks, the very kind folks from Paragon, one of the guys from the wine cellar, and my team, who I'd met only on the night, and it's I guess I feel like I'm a bit of the odd one out there as being the only person over, over 5.5 feet.
So you'd won the first prize. And this is about
a glorious victory. It was wonderful.
Was it like tasting, or I mean, you don't look pretty slosh there. You look quite compos mentis, but the same.
Well, they were these little. It was like it was not a binge drinking session. That came later when we went to the Saddle for karaoke on Thursday night.
Oh, that's a good night.
No, it was very refined. I was there with a couple of lawyers from Simcox, and we made a wonderful team, and another woman from NFU. We tasted the gin responsibly, and it was a good time. I got to meet Chris and Suzanne, who are my team members. Never met them before, and it was all good fun.
Good. It's nice to see a bit of positive networking. So that's not the Chamber of Commerce, is it? That's a entirely separate gig, is it?
That's right. Yeah. So this is the Isle of Man Business Network, and they are, probably the Isle of Man's leading business network. It's a good bunch of people. Every month they do something, whether it's some sort of continuous professional development sort of thing, or some sort of social thing like that. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Good stuff. And so that was at the ticket hall, which is the railway station, which is close to Tesco, which is the scene of the crime that's hit the headlines. It's all over the national newspapers. They're calling them the Doncaster Five. What's your take on it?
Or the Tesco Five, as my good friend Steve Burrows was tweeting on Twitter, and what seems to have happened, and I happened to speak to the supervisor after the fact, where he was very worried about what was happening to his, and it was at least I think what can be charitably described in this context as dopes or idiots. These 6 guys came across from the UK. To do some work as welders on the Manx Electric Railway, and before going to their hotel, they have been found to have gone to Tesco to buy some. Different reports have different words, but I gather it's some combination of beer and sandwiches for the next day. Right, and so they went there, they did the wrong thing. And now they've been sentenced to 2 weeks in prison, which seems very harsh from their point of view, because that's entirely mismatched with their expectations. But ultimately, as I said on Manx Radio just the other day, a couple of days after our last Skeetnet MannTalk, need to get ahead of the game. Right? We need to stop, these people from breaking the rules before they happen. Because people's lives are at risk. The idea of the coronavirus getting out into the community again. If it does, and let us hope and pray that it does not. But if it does, and it infects someone and kills someone, it is not going to be much consolation to know that the person who broke the rules has gone to jail. That does not bring your loved one back. It does not bring all the harm back.
But are you confident about this, though? Are you confident that you've got there's five guys, okay, of varying ages? I'm not sure if maybe one of the group would have been perhaps a little bit naive. You don't know what condition he is when he's got on the boat. You don't know whether he can read or write. You don't know what influence he's had on the group. It could just be that one young guy has been dragged along and now he's incarcerated with a criminal record and his face all over the national papers. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure we've got it right here.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. We've now had dozens of people have been arrested for breaking the rules. Some combination of returning residents and these so-called essential workers. So dozens of people have been arrested by the police for breaking the rules. In addition, there's more than 100 reports of alleged breaches to the Isle of Man police. And we've got to remember that prevention is better than cure. With hundreds of alleged breaches, dozens of people having been arrested here, it's clear that arguing about these jail terms is like arguing what's the lock to put on the stables after the horse has already bolted. By the time the horse is bolted, who cares? It's too late, right? It doesn't bring anyone back by sending him to jail. It doesn't undo, the risk. And so, like on the other day, the government is talking about possibly introducing some sort of announcement, verbal announcement on arrival at the sea terminal or on the plane at the airport.
I thought that would have been.
That hasn't already been. Yeah, of course you would have, right?
Surely.
Jokingly on Facebook the other day, I suggested that if you start holding the government officials to account, and that is, whether it be deducting 0.01% of their annual salary for each breach, or giving them a reward for no further breaches. If you started doing something like that, I suspect that the breaches would stop pretty bloody quickly. and that fundamentally the problem here is we have no skin in the game. The people who are making these decisions, there's no one's held accountable. Oh well, lessons were learned, like the prom, like Broadway, like all the other decisions. Oh well, sorry, that ultimately no one gets held accountable, and so I want to, I want our community to be safe from the virus. Right? I had a friend actually, not long ago, like in the last half hour or so, was messaging me. She messaged me, "Do you think we're going to go back into lockdown?" And unfortunately, she probably has read she's probably read the advice from the government here. Their stay responsible, framework. And so the Isle of Man government's current plan, and this is something that's being distributed at the sea terminal today. You can go to the sea terminal, you can get the plan from the government today. This, very clearly lists, under what steps a lockdown will be reintroduced in the Isle of Man. And let us hope we do not get down there. And obviously we're not, anywhere near to that risk today. But the government is threatening it, like it's hanging the sword of the lockdown over our heads. And that's the plan, that you can go down to the sea terminal, you can pick it up right now. I can understand why makes people nervous, because there have been more than 100 alleged breaches that have been reported to the police. There have been multiple dozens of people being arrested for breaches. And let us be hopeful. Let us, pray that it does not get out into the community, because.
But look at this, Michael. The headline is saying these are key workers. If there were surgeons, doctors, nurses, phlebotomists, whatever, but this wasn't an essential group of workers, was it?
Yeah. So look, I think that having the conversation about who is coming into the island should 100% be part of this conversation about prevention, about reducing the risk. And so I don't understand why an apprentice welder is even getting a work permit, or even getting permission to work here on the Isle of Man. it is possible, and some people have suggested that some form of train track welding is in fact a very specialist task. I've worked with the construction industry for the last 2 years with my little business, and it has been, I've learned, as a relative outsider to the construction industry previously, the various specialities of these different trades, and so it's possible that this particular work is a specialty thing, in which case, it makes sense to have a someone who's coming in.
But the thing is, someone has got the brains of a rocking horse here. Someone, you must look at where these individuals are coming from. It's the north of England, isn't it? It's Yorkshire, it's Doncaster, it's one of these hot areas for COVID. The numbers are going through the roof. Hospital admissions are now almost as high as what they were months ago. So you think, well, why should we be inviting these people over for a non-essential service? What kind of bonkers mentality is that?
Yes, I think that's a good, important part of the conversation. How we need to get ahead of the game. Prevention is better than cure. That's a good and important part of it. Another good and important part of it has got to be, do we test people on arrival? Of course, it will not catch everyone. Of course, there is no testing that is fast and efficient and is perfect. But that's the sort of thing. What sort of verbal announcement or audible announcements on the boat or on the plane can we make? What effective deterrents can there be against future offenders? Because let's be honest. Even now, this case of these people who are breaking the laws getting sent to jail, that is dominating and is getting a lot of attention in the local Isle of Man newspaper. I suspect that these group of 6 welders, 5 of whom were arrested and broke the rules, I suspect that they've never read the Isle of Man Examiner. I expect they've never read the Isle of Man Courier. I suspect they've never listened to Manx Radio or Energy FM before they came over here. And so you and I and everyone listening to this knows that, hey, here in the Isle of Man, you've got to be careful. You've got 14-day isolation. You've got to be all under this quarantine. But a bunch of these guys don't even know they're leaving the UK. Right? These are guys who are not, well versed in the constitutional arrangements of the British Isles. They're not well versed, in exactly what a crown dependency is. They don't need to. They don't care. They just go and they weld their train tracks together, and then they go on to the next job. And so it is, while for those of us who might be returning residents or who are Manx connected, we obviously will be deterred from breaking the rules by these harsh penalties. But the people in the UK don't know about it. Even now, it's got so-called national attention. What percentage of people know in the UK know about this crime? 0.1%, maybe 0.2%. It's really incumbent upon us to get better at prevention rather than trying to cure.
Well, we're absolutely poles apart from certain places in the UK. You look back to the Bolton story, where the R factor has just been climbing beyond belief, and I think there's more suffering to come. I think the spectre and the danger about this disease is going to bounce back. It's kind of been pushed to one side. Boris Johnson got it wrong in the summer by encouraging everyone to go out, and then they flip-flopped with that, and it's a U-turn again. I'm just a bit worried, really. The winter's coming, and they're hearing about the flu. Now, if you are so unfortunate to get the flu and COVID, you're at death's door, mate. So the flu jabs.
Easy, Tiger. Like it's not. I don't think it's quite that bad. It's certainly a very high risk. It's certainly a very high risk. And by very high risk, in the order of 5 or 10 or 20%. Right? We're not talking 99% chance if you have both, right?
But if ever there's a time to get the flu jab, is now. So I know that the doctors' surgeries are inundated and all our nursing staff are busy dishing out the injections. Yeah. So there we go. I did get the newspaper, the Examiner. It's funny, actually. There was Richard Butt, the news editor. He was chastised for that headline. Perhaps it being too sensationalist with the photographs and what have you. But I think it sent a good message out there myself, really.
Yeah, so that message only went to people in the Isle of Man. So let's remember that, right? Yeah. The so-called key workers coming across, obviously they won't see. My perception was that people criticising it didn't actually read the article because from my understanding of the article, it all seemed to be pretty straight newsy. It's all pretty informative, and so in that sense,
Okay.
I guess people can have differences of editorial judgments. Just like people will probably have differences over the things that you and I say here tonight. But a good, healthy conversation. Good on people for being so passionate about their local newspaper.
Let's move north. There was a story which was on page 9, and it's about the boundary change in Ramsey. So we're looking at a greenfield site. This is in the parish of Lezayre, which is just on the outskirts. I think it's along the TT course, pretty part of the island. And lo and behold, Ramsey commissioners looking at extending the town boundary. And this coincides with a planning application by one of our local firms. And I think, I'll just try and find it, I think it was for 180 houses. Yeah, 181 homes. So that's another significant development on a greenfield site on the Isle of Man. I'm not happy.
Well, I guess it shows that people want to live in Ramsey. It shows that Ramsey is moving forward. There's a lot of demand to live in Ramsey. Like you talk about 180 homes, but how many paddocks is this? 3 paddocks, 4 paddocks? Let's keep it in proportion. It's we're not concreting over the whole island.
We're not talking about Singapore, are we?
No.
But we're talking about a firm that has got a hotel building on an area of outstanding beauty, scientific interest down at Derby Haven, the hotel that we know about, the Golf Links Hotel. And surely there must be a mechanism for them to get that sorted out before they can start building houses elsewhere. It's a travesty.
So forgive me, I might have lost the track here. So you want more construction or you want less construction?
Well, I'd say there's one particular firm who owns the Golf Links Hotel, and
what's that, Andara, or is it?
Well, you'd think so, yeah. Heritage Homes. I'm not quite sure under what.
Yeah, look, I have no idea who owns.
But what I'm saying is, we need to clear up on the Isle of Man all our grot spots, of which there are plenty, and surely there'd be a mechanism for that to happen. That apartments could be built in Douglas or places in Ramsey that have got spare land. I think there are some in the town. Before we start impinging on greenfield sites, it just kind of hurts me, inside, because it is a beautiful part of the country. And now we're looking at Ramsey commissioners increasing the size of the empire, and I think they've got the highest rates in the Isle of Man anyway on that front.
Yeah, so look, I don't know about the specifics of the Ramsey situation, but I certainly know here in Douglas, that around Douglas Quay, most obviously, and on the Fort Street, on the Lord Street, on the sites, there's a whole bunch of, basically, it's this empty asphalt. It's used basically in ruins, and it's extraordinary that these sites are not being developed. And I'm all in favour of getting these sites built in the centre of town, in the centre of Douglas, so you can get some more accessible housing.
But this is where we need all island control. This is where we need strong legislation to punish the landlords, punish those landowners that simply don't care. It's a complete disrespect of the Isle of Man that these places, we talk about South Quay or we talk about areas in Douglas that have been neglected for so long, and there should be an order slapped straight on them. You sort it out and you provide much needed housing. If not, it will be a compulsory purchase. Surely this has got to be the way ahead.
So I'm very sceptical of punishing landlords, because if you start punishing landlords, you'll get less of them. And the result being is that rents will become more expensive, housing will become more expensive, and that'll further squeeze the cost of living for people on the Isle of Man. And that I'm much more of a carrot than a stick sort of guy, and so I reckon it'd be great to allow people, So, for example, here in Douglas, perfect example of a property is the Newson's property, the former Newson's property here on Douglas Quay, where the owners of it submitted a request to redevelop it. Unbeknownst to them, someone in the government had somehow determined that this was a property of some sort of heritage significance, has got it now under some sort of registered protection history and so on. And it is now a here in the Isle of Man they can't build it, and so this building is now crumbling. it is, it's really sad.
And that is a key spot on the Isle of Man. But I will say, if we build 181 houses in Ramsey, how many of those will be investment properties? How many will be going straight to rent? Because this is something, you won't find this information anywhere. I've been half tempted to go around the local new estate in Port Erin and just do a few doors, say 50 doors, and ask them, how many actually own the property. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's, I don't know, less than half. Would that be right? I don't think that's a good thing.
I don't know, but here, in fact, actually, you can now. I've just looked into this property here on North Quay that I was talking about, and they say, and this is now on their website. You can go to kelproperties.im. The property is now for sale due to planning demand, and they're saying, unfortunately, after we purchased the building, the IOMG, the Isle of Man Government Planning Department, decided to give it listing building status and never informed us, the owners. So sadly, our development plans have been thwarted, and so we await another developer to take it forward if there was one who wishes to do so. And it's, I'm a big fan of building on what they call the brownfield sites, right? But here we are. We have a property, we have a site. The developer wants to build, and the government says no, can't have that, because there's, that nuisance building, which is, let's be honest, that nuisance building is not some sort of architectural magistry.
Absolutely,
it is literally rotting apart. And it is a shame, because this is the perfect sort of property that should be being developed. We should be making the key of Douglas. It should be the heart of our capital city, and we should be, building and constructing, creating jobs, protecting the environment. It's inner city urban living, so there'll be lower carbon emissions. There'll be lower demands on the environment for transport, because people will be living in the centre of town. In addition, because it's high density, there'll be more energy efficiency, because the houses, or the homes rather,
precisely,
are literally right next to each other. One person's roof is another person's ceiling. So it's good for the environment. It is good for housing prices to have more accessible housing. It is good for jobs, create some more jobs for working class Manx people to build the things, and it'll be good all round.
So,
and here's someone who wants to invest in the Isle of Man and is being thwarted due to the Isle of Man government's silly rules.
If anyone knows anything about these silly rules, is there something unique or special about the nuisance building on the quay? Please post it in the comments box if you know any more. Michael, right, I'm going to quiz you here. There's an advert on the page.
Let me just remind you that in this quiz that I did well at last week, it was about gin. And it was the first time I've ever won. I think the first time I've ever been on a winning side for a quiz.
Can you see this? You see what I've
got? Palace Casino, Manx Cup. It says slightly out of focus, but yeah, I can mostly read what you're saying.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? So, tell me, what is it? Because that says that buy-in £500 plus 50. So, Are we talking? You've got to spend £500 to have a go.
Yeah, so what that appears to, and I've only just seen now that you've shown it there on the screen, is that it looks to me like the casino is hosting a poker tournament. To enter, it's going to cost you £550, which is going to be a relatively high-priced tournament for the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
And so it looks like they're having their Palace Cup and a poker tournament, and I guess if you want to play, go for it.
So I don't know poker at all. Mm-hmm. So have you got to know your stuff to turn, or could anyone just turn up and perhaps get lucky on the night? And
anyone can turn up, and so what they're saying there is that anyone with the £550 can turn up and take part. I suspect if you don't know poker, it'll be £550 very badly spent. And so they do have a whole lot of other much cheaper tournaments on a Friday night that might be more suitable to your.
But you see where I'm coming from, is that caught my eye, and there could be someone who perhaps isn't quite as sensible as me or such a bad card player, might just turn up and give it a go. It's just an interesting thought. And just on that, on Friday night they had live stream from the Villa, and it was the Thriller in the Villa, wasn't it? The boxing.
Was that the boxing that was happening inside the villa in the stage, or was that the boxing that happened outside the villa in the street immediately afterwards? Because I saw there was a news police report of looking for various people and outside bordellos, and it all appeared to be a bit of carnage.
Technical knockout, maybe, but no, I had this thought, okay, that this is something where you saw it televised and they had a crowd. And if you look at any televised events in the UK, there's empty seats, isn't it? Football matches are very sterile. You can imagine darts, snooker, whatever, springs to mind, boxing and so forth. What would it take to get an event over here? And we could have the Isle of Man rent-a-crowd.
Yeah, well, you make a good point. If these train track welders can be key workers, then why can't Manchester United Football Club be key workers?
It could earn a bit of cash. It could earn a bit of cash. Oh, we've got a comment here from Neil Clegg. Chaps, this isn't going to turn any heads. Can we just get to some serious matters? Poker? What the actual fuck? Well, okay, it was a bit of a diversion there, Neil. But if you've got anything you want to ask, get it on the comments box. Join in. We'll gladly talk about anything that's suitable. But if
anything that entertains all 5 of our viewers or listeners.
Oh, 5? They're 5. Hang on, we're up to 7 now. But no, it's good. It's good. It's good to have this.
And I just want to say hello to the whole Jed Powers family. It's good to have you all here live on the stream. Mum back in Australia. It's good that you've joined us as well.
It couldn't be the family because it'd be in the same house off the same router, and the internet quality down here is absolutely dreadful. But I'm hearing that the fibre is getting fed out right across the island. 10 million quid. That's right.
Yep, so instead of it being in 5 years, it'll be 4 years, which is good. That's good. It's good.
But that means that the government's paying for it, doesn't it?
So I think all along the government was going to subsidise Manx Telecom to roll it out, in that, as you would imagine, laying all this cable to this fibre cable is probably not free, right? And so you'd imagine that there are a chunk of sites that are not commercially viable without some sort of taxpayer subsidy, and it appears here that the taxpayer subsidy is being brought forward, which is good. So I guess it's good on two levels. First of all, creates the jobs, and second of all, improves the infrastructure. And this is exactly the sort of stuff that was in my manifesto to promote during this recent Douglas South by-election. This stuff is good, and so good on the government for doing it, and good on Manx Telecom for hopefully improving the cable, the fibre connections as sooner than planned.
But Manx Telecom do pretty well, don't they? I mean, we get charged some of the most expensive services probably in Europe, I'd say. Certainly when you compare to the UK. And you'd think they'd be able to have an island wrapped up service-wise within no time. It's not even the size of a small town in England.
Yeah, so maybe there are economies of scale there, right? Maybe that's a functionality there. That's a bit of an issue here. But I am a big fan of when the government and when Manx Telecom do good things, let us reward them. Let us say good on them for getting it done. And so I'm very not much of a when I guess actually this evening I was umpiring netball for to volunteer for the girls to help out on their training sessions. And so yes, we should call fouls when they happen. But when there is no foul, then play on, and it's good here. So let us congratulate them. Let us say nice things about the government and Manx Telecom when they do good things, and when they do bad things, then let's blow the whistle on that. So good on them. Good on the government for doing this sort of stuff.
Well, as long as we get value for money and we're not paying for it twice, there isn't some shareholders in the background absolutely creaming the crop somewhere. I'll go along with that. Okay, what else have we got in the local papers? We'll just flick through. It's like the blooming Police Gazette. Everyone's in court. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not much. I don't actually have a TV connected with the free to air or all that sort of business here at home. But I was at a friend's place last night and watching this TV show. I've never seen it before. Police Interceptors. And it basically tells of these, has a series of cases. You remember the TV show Cops from 20 or 30 years ago, where live camera action from the US, where you'd have these
Yes.
cops busting down things, and so it was hilarious to me. I've never seen this show. It's come across from the UK. They were broadcasting it onto the TV here, and it was hilarious to me to see the excitement whereby they had one particular case. They had something in the order of 20 police officers, heavily armed, and they launched I don't know what the right word is here, but essentially arrived at a house. 20 of them. They prepared to bash down the doors, and so there they are. You can see the video of last night, and I assume it's on some sort of catch-up service. And there's this police officer, big guy with what they call their red key. It's like a big red battering ram, and they bang, open the door, bang, door stuck, bang, door stuck, bang again. Poor guy gets knackered. Puts the battering ram on the ground, and the next guy goes bang, bang, still can't get it. Third guy finally breaks down the door, and they the police officers, 20 of them, they're all heavily armed. They raid this property. They get through the next door because it was locked, but it was glass, so they could break through that. And inside they find three occupants of the property. They find a whole bunch of what could euphemistically be described as drug paraphernalia. There's knives, there's guns. Not guns, that's wrong. There was a hammer, there was knives, and all this drug stuff. And then the narrator says, of the three occupants, 2 were let off, and 1 received a warning for cannabis. And it was just the extremes of first of all these heavily armed police in the UK were launching this raid, end up giving this poor guy a caution. Not poor guy, but someone who broke the law. So
well,
this guy a caution. And here in the Isle of Man, you have these men who are invariably do dumb things. They're crime stupidity, getting locked up. There's no suggestion of associated weapons. There's no suggestion of any harm to anyone else. But these men who are getting arrested with trivial amounts of cannabis.
Well, it's a big headline on the Isle of Man, isn't it? These fragments, these particles of cannabis, and somehow it's going through the court system. But I'll just go back to the old police raid, and I'm not going to tell too many tales out of court, but it had been known for the battering ram to go in on the wrong property several times back in the day. I wouldn't say it was the constabulary's finest hours. Funnily enough, I bumped into a former colleague only last week, and all is not well in the constabulary. I don't think they'd get 20 officers on a job at the moment. There's that many resignations and piles of sickness and all sorts. So it was quite sad to bump into one of the old crusaders who's not a happy fella. Now, we've just got some comments coming in on the side box, and I'll just read it out from Neil.
More comments from your mate Neil. So he's pretty passionate tonight.
Okay, so if we look at the... let me see. Forgive the expletives, but I didn't say the F word. I said the F word. Sorry about that. Okay, TT, on the subject matter you're on, there is a real plan that could be looked at here, but are we even bothering? If we look at the available global TV slots, greenlight and perfectly placed to monetize the event, then we can work out how we subsidise the teams, etc., without all the quarantine. And he's absolutely bang on. It was only last year that we had a group from California who were going to invest a shed load of money into live streaming the TT. And this was going to be with helicopters, zip wires on cameras, and there were some big names involved. And you think, well, surely now is the time, isn't it? Now is the time to prepare this and get it done over winter. Maybe get some expert key workers in, and we could have an amazing event, pay-per-view, and get some cash into our much-needed economy.
Yeah, I guess there's 2 parts of running the TT. First of all, can you have a mass tourism event? That, as of today, what is today, the 6th of October, that's looking unlikely. And so as a mass tourism event, that seems going to be difficult. But could it be some sort of online stream TV event? I guess it really depends on how much global interest there is in the TT. Wouldn't that be wonderful, to showcase crowds, to showcase the history, to showcase the Isle of Man in some sort of event? I don't know the economics of it. It could be difficult, but that's spot on there, Jed.
But you know what it would turn into? It could turn into a bit of a horror fest. There would be that fascination about the danger of it, and that would be the mechanism to capture subscribers to watch it, because we've had it here. I've transported many TT enthusiasts who've arrived here on private jets and on planes, and they've turned up not knowing anything about the event, and they've come here because they think it's like a bucket list. So you think of bucket list holidays or bucket list events. So you've got Running the Bulls, haven't you? Was it in Pamplona? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've got the Tomato Festival. People have seen it and they've got to go. There's that. Is it the Palio in Tuscany? It's some horse event. Or there's going to be something like, there's that parade in New Orleans, where it's all celebrating the dead. Yeah?
So, the Mardi Gras. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get people who actually travel around the world to see something, yet they're not experts. So something like the TT, with the build-up, the advertising, it's something new, and then there is this risk factor. It could be the biggest TV event ever. And I've just got, well, not the biggest TV event, not as big as the Super Bowl and the Olympics and what have you, but what I'm looking at is that Neil is saying there's no fans needed. We pay the teams to come over. IOM fans will be fine. 30-second delay, of course, that is a good point. We understand exactly where you're coming from, Neil, with that. And people pay 60 quid to watch Mayweather knock someone out in 90 seconds. So 20 quid to watch the whole event on the TT. What about that?
Yeah, look, it's possible. I don't know how much interest there is globally, how many people are aware, and that's, I guess, somewhat, ultimately a decision for whether, someone's willing to stump up the cash to make it all happen. Because obviously, motorbike racing is not cheap. I guess that if we have the situation where 19-year-old welders are essential workers, then I think it's very plausible to make the argument that.
I'm pretty sure that the number of views for one of the TT videos on YouTube, it's about 60 million. I'm sure it is. I'm sure someone can check that out. But if it's to do with like TT thrills and spills or the Connor Cummins crash,
people
on
love a bit of carnage on the internet, right? Just check out my Twitter mentions. They love the explosions. They love the carnage, and that is that excitement. Let us hope no one is seriously injured, but obviously, that's part of the attraction of the TT is that you have, these men. I think there are women now too,
yes,
right?
There are,
yeah. These people, as I should have said, who are risking all to go faster, to ride closer to the edge. That's the a little bit of courage, a little bit of bravery, a little bit of stupidity. I could never do it because I don't have any of those. Well, I have a lot of stupidity, but I don't have much bravery or courage when it relates to these things.
Well, these are modern day gladiators, Michael, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
And the fact that there is this risk is what makes it exciting. Sort of like with the Running the Bulls. Every year there are people who are gored, and it is tragic. And in our world where we're increasingly it's all safe padded cells with guardrails and bubble wrap everything. I think that there is certainly a lot of excitement, a lot of interest in seeing these men and women who push to the edge of the mechanics, who push to the edge of courage, and who push to the edge of speed. Risking it all to see who can go fastest in a circle, basically. Right? So that is attractive to a whole bunch of viewers.
Well, maybe folk are going to be looking for something new, sport-wise, to watch on TV because things have changed. We didn't have the Olympics. Premier League football has kind of lost its zip, without having the crowds. Not if you're a Aston Villa fan, by the way, after they stuffed Liverpool 7-2, but I think the landscape is certainly changing and it is the time to do it. Neil is saying, we should press it, and it is something that could be done over the winter. We've got the technology. We'll have 5G by then, won't we, next year?
Let's hope so, but I don't think it's. Yeah, we'll see. I guess maybe in the towns, but you're certainly right that this could be interesting. I don't know the economics, but like these are the sort of opportunities I guess you got to take advantage of now in the world of people working from home, where a lot of other mass events have been under restriction. But we've also got to remember that let us be realistic that next summer more and more of the rest of the world will reopen, and more and more of the rest of the world. I happened to actually last night stumbled across at my friend's place, the French Open tennis, and there are more and more sporting events that are returning to TV screens.
It's remarkable, but I'm a bit worried that we're not going to see a great deal of change until a year away. That's my fear. I think the situation that we're in now could still be the same in 12 months' time.
Look, it possibly could be. The government has been very, very open and very clear in saying that there may be border restrictions, and so that might not necessarily be the full stage 4 that we're currently on. But they've been talking about how there'll be some sort of border restrictions until there is a vaccine. The Chief Minister has said that openly, and so if the Chief Minister was telling the truth, and I have no reason to doubt him, then that means that border restrictions of some sort well into the second half of next year. And so it's difficult to imagine, a vaccine rather, completing all its testing and being manufactured and deployed en masse, in the first or second half of next year, first or second quarter of next year. And so even the optimistic timelines talk about, deployment beginning in Q3 or Q4 of next year. And so under what the Chief Minister says, it's we can only go on what they say publicly. What the Chief Minister says, is border restrictions of some sort, and so maybe that is some sort of immunity passport. Maybe that is some sort of vaccination certificate or something like that. But it's certainly difficult to imagine how you could run a mass tourism event in the first half of 2021.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I think we're coming up to 47 minutes. So we managed to hang on to a few views. So thank you very much, and thank you for putting the comments in the box. So we're learning all the time. Any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions about what we should be talking about? Maybe we should just have a gin quiz one week.
I think I've got to credit my teammates. Chris and Suzanne. I'm sure you're not watching. But if you were, let me tell you, great effort, because you knew much more than I did. So.
Lovely. Okay, well, we'll call it an end to the evening, Michael. Thank you very much, and we'll catch up next week. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Goodbye.
Thanks, Jed.